Real reason Bronson Reed was added to Paul Heyman's stable with Rollins and Breakker. Hey everyone, welcome back. Today we've got some truly surprising and heartwarming news from the WWE Universe. A new era has begun. A force has risen. And a monster has joined the ranks. The WWE Universe was rocked when Paul Heyman, the mastermind behind some of the most dominant factions in WWE history, revealed his latest creation, a stable unlike any other. With Seth Rollins and Bron Breakker already aligned under Heyman's ruthless leadership, one man's sudden inclusion into the fold raised eyebrows and sparked endless debate. That man is Bronson Reed. Today, we uncover the real reason why Bronson Reed was added to Paul Heyman's faction, what it means for WWE's future, and how this power play will reshape the landscape of sports entertainment forever. The rise of Paul Heyman's new empire. Let's rewind the clock just a few months. WrestleMania 41 shook the very foundation of WWE. Paul Heyman, long tied to Roman Reigns and the Bloodline, betrayed the tribal chief in a move that stunned fans and sent shockwaves throughout the wrestling world. But Heyman wasn't planning a retirement party, he was planning a revolution. On the Raw after WrestleMania, Heyman aligned himself with Seth freakin' Rollins. The visionary, the architect, the man who dethroned Roman Reigns. And it didn't stop there. Weeks later, a new name joined the fold, Bron Breakker, the powerhouse descendant of the Steiner dynasty. A man who didn't need approval, only destruction. Heyman's mission was clear: build an unstoppable faction. Not just with stars, but with killers. And that's where Bronson Reed comes in. Who is Bronson Reed? Before we get into the why, we need to understand the who. Bronson Reed, real name Jermaine Haley, is a 330-pound juggernaut from Australia. His journey through the wrestling world hasn't been easy. After grinding for over a decade across Australia, Japan, and independent circuits, Reed finally broke into WWE through NXT. In 2021, he captured the NXT North American Championship. But shortly after that reign, he was shockingly released. Most wrestlers would have folded. Not Reed. He went to NJPW and Impact, where he proved he wasn't just another big man. He was a force. He had agility, intensity, and above all, credibility. WWE brought him back in 2022, and since then, he's been waiting for his moment to explode. Now, that moment has arrived. A need for violence. Paul Heyman doesn't just align with anyone. Every decision he makes is calculated. When he stood by Brock Lesnar, it was because Brock was an assassin. When he stood with Roman Reigns, it was because Roman had generational greatness. When he stood with Rollins, it was because Rollins had the mind of a tactician and the charisma of a cult leader. But what was missing from this new alliance? Pure, unfiltered violence. Bron Breakker brought explosive athleticism and aggression. But Heyman needed a monster. Someone who could devour the opposition. Enter Bronson Reed. In the weeks leading up to his inclusion, Reed had been on a silent rampage, bulldozing lower card talent, confronting main eventers without fear, and making it clear he no longer wanted to wait in line. WWE's backstage whispers hinted at growing frustration in Reed. He didn't want to be overlooked anymore. And Heyman saw it, not as a weakness, but as an opportunity. Behind the scenes, what WWE doesn't want you to know. Now let's dive deeper. The real reason Bronson Reed was added. Sources backstage in WWE have confirmed that Triple H and Heyman had been discussing long-term faction dynamics post-WrestleMania. With the bloodline fractured, Judgment Day stretched thin, and the LWO struggling to maintain relevance, WWE needed a new heel faction. But not just any faction. One that could eventually challenge everything: titles, authority, legends. Reed's addition was strategic. Backstage producers had long praised Reed's reliability, his in-ring stamina, and his no-nonsense persona. He didn't care for spotlight segments or social media. He cared about one thing: wrecking people. That's exactly what Heyman wanted. A silent killer. Someone who could do what Breakker couldn't. Where Breakker is brash, Reed is cold. Where Rollins is theatrical, Reed is terrifying. Together, they create the perfect triangle: mind, youth, and massacre. Rollins' role in recruiting Reed. But this wasn't just Heyman's call. Seth Rollins reportedly advocated hard for Bronson Reed to join the stable. Why? Because Rollins understands the chessboard of WWE better than anyone. He's not just a performer, he's a strategist. He knew that being the leader of Heyman's new faction would put a target on his back. Champions, enemies, even allies. He needed someone he didn't have to babysit. Reed fit that mold. According to insiders, Rollins told Creative, "I don't need someone to follow me. I need someone to run people over when I give the word." And that's Bronson Reed's superpower. He doesn't talk. He acts. Building WWE's new dominant faction. With Bronson Reed's arrival, Heyman's faction now feels complete. Let's break it down. Paul Heyman. The mouthpiece. The planner. Seth Rollins. The leader. The champion. Bron Breakker. The wild dog. The enforcer. Bronson Reed. The weapon. The juggernaut. This isn't just a faction, it's a takeover unit. They don't just want titles. They want to dismantle every fan favorite, every beloved babyface, every legend standing in their way. And you know what makes them even more dangerous? There's no ego battle. Reed doesn't care about leading. Breakker doesn't care about mic time. Rollins doesn't care about friendship. And Heyman, he just wants domination, fan reaction and internet buzz. When Reed was revealed as the newest member, the internet exploded. Some fans were confused, some cheered, some doubted. Why Reed? Why not a more charismatic figure? Why not someone like Shinsuke Nakamura or Finn Balor? But slowly, fan opinion started to shift. Clips of Reed decimating opponents from NXT and NJPW went viral. His match highlights against Okada and Moose resurfaced. The fans remembered, this guy is no joke. Even those who doubted him admitted, if used properly, Reed could be WWE's next top monster. And with Heyman in his corner, the sky's the limit. The locker room reaction. Behind the scenes, the locker room reportedly reacted with mixed feelings. Some talent were surprised Reed got such a high-profile role after flying under the radar for so long. Others, especially those who had worked with Reed on the Indies or in NXT, were thrilled. One anonymous wrestler told sources, "Bronson's earned this. He's been busting his ass with no complaints. Nobody deserves that spot more." And while jealousy always exists backstage, Reed has reportedly remained humble, focused, and ready to play his role without stepping on toes. Exactly the kind of soldier Heyman builds dynasties with. What's next for the stable? So, where does this go from here? WWE has massive plans brewing. Insiders hint that Heyman's new faction could begin targeting the World Heavyweight Championship, the Intercontinental title, and even aim to take over both brands. And Reed, he may soon be eyeing the undisputed WWE Tag Team titles, possibly teaming with Breakker in a two-headed monster team. Expect brutal assaults, backstage segments showing their unity, and a path of destruction leading into SummerSlam. Some reports even suggest the faction could face the Bloodline in a War Games match at Survivor Series, a battle of Heyman's past versus his present. Why Reed is the X Factor? At the heart of it all, Reed remains the X Factor. Rollins and Breakker may be the stars, but Reed is the glue. He's the man no one prepares for. The one fans underestimate, and that's exactly why he's dangerous. Every faction needs its Kane, its Diesel, its Batista. That's who Reed is becoming. Not the flashiest, not the loudest, but the one who makes fans say, "Oh no, now we're in trouble." Triple H's long-term vision. Triple H is slowly shaping WWE into a hybrid of